With the news that Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer are going to go head-to-head next Tuesday, the flagship policy today is about the national health and how Labour is going to deliver 40,000 more appointments. This is a good thing, is it not? But that requires, within the first 18 weeks, most NHS hospitals and most NHS patients in England will have their target seen. I don't quite understand what this means. Getting NHS doctors to do more out-of-hours work, making greater use of the private sector. The waiting list currently stands at 7.5 million, and people who need treatment. And the real problem is that these waits are getting longer and longer because there are so many people building up. It's a little bit like the asylum hotels. There just comes a point where it's gone over the edge where this is an easy fix. So Labour says it's going to create 40,000 extra appointments, scans, operations a week with almost immediate effect if it gains power. That's on top of the 2 million already carried out. This will be done by getting the NHS to do more in the evenings, at weekends, making greater use of the private sector. The number of scanners in the UK will be doubled. So getting scanners into hospitals, making sure the scanners can be used, all of this takes time. And also getting the staff who are trained to use those scanners. Again, it takes time. It's not simply a matter of buying in the equipment. The policy apparently is going to cost 1.3 billion in the first year. That's a better spending of money than the extraordinary national service plan, but it's funded in part by the same process of clamping down on tax dodgers, whether that is people who have avoided tax or people who are using non-dom tax loopholes. I'm not convinced that those savings can be found in that particular way. And what we might well find is that people fall foul of bad bureaucracy, fall foul of having ticked the wrong box, and we'll see significantly more incidents of those people like carers who are dragged through the courts simply because they were simply because they were not aware that their income increased by a couple of pennies and therefore took them over the threshold. This is potentially a hideous form of funding. It's a hideous way to base something which is so central. Yes, it's good to cut back on tax dodgers, particularly those who are consciously dodging tax. Yes, it's good to cut back on the non-dom thing, but to plan an important service based on that is foolishness. The two things independently are good, but to assume there are so many tax dodgers, there are so many non-doms who are not paying their full whack, and that this is going to yield enough money to fund the NHS, that is fairly nonsensical. Tony Blair established an 18-week target. And even with cancer, you're supposed to be seen within a very short space of time. But these targets are not being met, number one. Number two, the target culture is, I think, a misunderstanding. I'll talk more on this later on, but I think when you're dealing with health, a target of 1 week, 2 weeks, 8 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks, a year is arbitrary. What you need to do is a commitment to the health of the nation. And that's different.